session of the day, our plenary session, which is based on the theme of WNTD, protecting youth from industry manipulation and preventing them from tobacco and nicotine use. So this theme, it serves as a global counter-marketing campaign to unmask myths and expose manipulation tactics of the tobacco industries, which are especially used to deceive the youth, equip youth with knowledge of the tobacco and industries, manipulatory tactics, and empower the influencers to protect the youth and fight against the big tobacco. On this note, for this session, I would like to invite our moderator, Dr. Sonu Goyal, Professor in the Department of Community Medicine and School of Public Health, PGI, MER, Chandigarh, to please introduce our chairs for the session and proceed with the proceedings of the session. Welcome, sir.
So welcome to the first technical session for the day. So this will be a plenary session on the WNTD theme, that is protecting youth from industry manipulation and preventing them from tobacco and nicotine use. So for this, we have our chairs with us, Dr. Prakash Gupta, who is a director, Hales Siskaya Group Institute of Public Health in Mumbai. He's a Doctor of Science degree in epidemiology way back in 1975 from Johns Hopkins, US. He's a visiting scientist at Howard T.C. Chan School of Public Health, Boston, an adjunct professor of epidemiology and biostatistics at Arnold School of Public Health, University of South Carolina. And he has received numerous awards, including Luther Terry, the highest tobacco control award from American Cancer Society in 2003, and Tobacco Free World Award from Director General WHO Geneva. So he is a mentor figure for all of us in tobacco control fraternity. And we have the second chair, Dr. Rana J. Singh, who is a Deputy Regional Director, the International Union Against TB and Lung Diseases, that is the Union Southeast Asia. He's a medical doctor with MD in pulmonary medicine, 25 plus years of experience in public health, focusing on management and tobacco control, master trainer of various courses for mid and senior level managers for many countries. And he is currently supporting tobacco and NCD control program in Southeast Asia region. Before we proceed for the next plenary session, and we'll hand over the things for chair for introducing the speakers for the session, just a few thoughts I want to give. One, for the speakers, the time is the resource. The timeliness of the previous session is really important for the start of next session. So kindly be on time, and we'll have a buzzer which will be there 1 minute before the allotted time, so that you can smoothly wind off your session. And now I invite our chairs for introducing the speakers for the session.
Thank you, Dr. Sonu Goyal. It's a pleasure to be chairing this plenary session. First of all, I would like to congratulate you and all the organizers for this excellent summit that you have organized, and the timeliness and the need for the summit is very clear from the response. It has received very enthusiastic response from the entire tobacco control community. So congratulations and wish all the best. It's a pleasure to introduce Dr. Monica Arora as the first speaker of this plenary session. She has been working in tobacco control for 20 odd years, and she's executive director of Hriday, from which she really started her tobacco control work, and now she is with the Public Health Foundation of India also. I don't think I need to introduce her very much. She has been awarded with WHO Director General's World No Tobacco Day Award. member of second WHO Civil Society Working Group on NCD. So welcome, very much welcome, Dr. Monica Arora. Please go ahead with your presentation.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gupta. It is an honor to be introduced by a stalwart in tobacco control who has taught tobacco control to all of us. Welcome everyone and good morning. I would want to start my presentation for the first plenary, and I will primarily be focusing on importance of research to inform policies and also meaningfully engaging youth in tobacco control, since that is the theme of protecting youth from industry manipulations and protecting them from tobacco and nicotine use. Next slide, please. Thank you. So as we can very clearly see that way back in 1997, the evidence was that smokers start smoking by early 20s. However, over the years, we have seen this age of initiation has been rapidly declining. And India, though the Global Adult Tobacco Survey has shown the age of initiation to be about 18.8 years for smoking and a bit lesser, about 18.9, a bit more than the for smokeless tobacco. However, evidence from India, from some of our research done with adolescents in the slums, has actually shown that age of initiation is as low as 6 years. And that is primarily because of the smokeless tobacco use, which they start without even knowing that it is smokeless tobacco. Also, it is very, very clear from research that adolescent brain is particularly vulnerable to the addiction of nicotine. The brain is developing up to the age of 25 years, and any introduction of nicotine or tobacco before that age does interfere with the formation of synapses. If people start using tobacco before the age of 18 years, the addiction is much stronger. So 9 out of 10 people who smoke their first cigarette before the age of 18 years continue this habit into adulthood. So just to lay emphasis on what even Dr. Rana suggested, that youth are the primary target of the tobacco industry, because this is the only industry which kills its own
Kritika? Garima?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think there's problem with the Wi-Fi connectivity because of the problem in Delhi.
Yes,
The weather is pretty bad. So if it doesn't reconnect, then you can complete the presentation.
okay, sir.
कृतिका आप हाँ बोलो फिर वो जब ज्वाइन करेंगे then it will be all right.
So, progression of regular smoking is associated with a positive experience with the first cigarette. The tobacco pandemic. So the tobacco cigarette pandemic is like COVID-19 in slow motion. The need to flatten the curve is the urgency. Tobacco epidemic curve is only partially flattened in some countries. The tobacco industry has been extraordinarily successful at conditioning the public and policymakers to accept it as a given. So the first tobacco industry interference index in India, the first tobacco industry interference in India, the methodology and the results have been shown. So the methods used were Siatka tool was used, desk review to review the incidence of TII and government responses. A predefined broad search strategy using keywords were done. And the results were the India TII index obtained a total score of 72 out of maximum score, which was 100. And findings of the India index under 7 key themes, which were level of industry participation in policy development, so-called CSR activities, benefit to the tobacco industry, forms of unnecessary interaction, transparency, conflict of interest, prevention measures. And these all results were compared with other Asian countries, and this has been published in Asia Pacific Index 2018. So here it has been shown the TII Index Asia, Tobacco Industry Interference Index in the Asian Report on Implementation of WHO Framework Convention on Tobacco Control, Article 5.3. So this is the India score 2018, and it shows that we rank 69 in the tobacco industry interference overall country ranking. So 69 is the India score. And the color coding, you can see there is a color coding highlighting different colors. So vulnerability to tobacco exposure. The focus was emerging tobacco and nicotine products, advertising and promotional exposure through new media. New emerging tobacco and nicotine products, which include the e-cigarettes or the electronic nicotine delivery system ENDS, do not burn or use tobacco leaves, but instead vaporize a solution which the users then inhales. So GATS2 2016-17 shows the prevalence of e-cigarette use in India is 0.7%. Awareness of e-cigarette is highest among the adolescents, and it has gained popularity and availability over the years. September 28, 2019, the prohibition of electronic cigarettes, which include the production, manufacture, import, export, transport, sale, Distribution, Storage and Advertisement Act 2019 was enforced. However, the tobacco industry continues effect to challenge the ENDS ban in India. So the research gap, not much is known about the use of e-cigarettes, and it is correlated among adolescents in India. New emerging tobacco products are like cigarette A-like, which came into the market around 2017, and most delivered nicotine and were disposable. The variations were on the first e-cigarette, including product like e-hookah and rechargeable versions. Other were the vape pens. These have batteries that can reach higher temperature, have refillable e-liquid cartridges, and allow user to regulate the frequency of inhalation. Mods, large size modifiable e-cigarette, allow for more aerosol, nicotine, and other chemicals to be breathed in the lungs at a faster rate. Pod-based, these e-cigarettes are shaped like USBs and contain pods with higher amount of nicotine than the previous generations. So here we can see the heat not burn, IQOS, that is heats tobacco to a lower temperature than conventional cigarettes. They are battery powered devices which vaporizes actual tobacco and promoted as a reduced risk product. Reportedly, the launch is being planned in India. The other side, we have e-hookah, hookah pen, or e-shishas. Both are rechargeable and non-rechargeable versions. Dense smoke to blow large clouds. Considered a luxury item, preferably during socializing. A range of flavors available and attractive packing. Flavors with nicotine and without nicotine. Active through suction, and the price ranged from 450 to 1,000 INR. So here they study on emerging forms of tobacco use. This is a study from 2015 and 16. The youth-led monitoring to gauge sale, advertising, and promotion of ENDS. So this is the monitoring. The total sample size was 42, and the monitoring was done on-site with a sample size of 15. And we could see that social media was the biggest promoter. Free home delivery services were there, offer complimentary flavors. The online site have social media handles on Instagram and Facebook. And for home delivery, they gave attractive discounts. And only one of 15 sites asked for a self-declaration of age. So influence of tobacco advertisement. MYTRI study to investigate causal association between students, baseline exposure to tobacco advertisement, and receptivity to tobacco promotional items and their progression to tobacco use. So it was seen that students were exposed at more than 4 places, were 1.5 times more likely to progress toward tobacco use at end line versus those not exposed. And among boys, those exposed at more than 4 places with 1.7 times more likely to progress. The risk of progression at end line was more than 2 times higher among boys who were highly receptive versus non-receptive boys. Tobacco use exposure in Bollywood movies have also influenced the youth, and we could see the content analysis of 59 movies during 2006 to 2008 was done, and 412 tobacco users occurrence was found, 12 occurrence for movies. 7.3% adolescent reported owning a tobacco promotional item. Even after adjusting for covariates, those with highest exposure at more than double the risk of being ever tobacco users are compared to those in lowest exposure with a dose-response relationship. Similar relationship exists from receptivity to tobacco promotion and ever tobacco use. So how much tobacco, toxic tobacco should our kids stream during a national health crisis? So this is a study where first month of COVID-19 stays at home order in March 2020, and the US audience for streaming channels grew 50 to 60% according to Nielsen tracking, and 1 year streaming audience has doubled. Tobacco Imaginary is on demand streaming content popular among youth of India. Another study where 188 episodes across 10 series of Netflix and Amazon Prime Video recorded was seen. The study was supported by WHO India. So this is another number of tobacco incident in 10 most popular online series shown in Netflix and Amazon Prime. The table shows the number of seasons, number of episodes, median number of tobacco incidents in the tabular format. So youth are the change agent, meaningful engagement of youth in addressing the industry tactics. So this is a news advertisement where WHO director is shown in the picture. So this launched in New Delhi, India in September 2013. Youth asked when we will get 85% pictorial health warnings. In the press conference, you can see. NMT advocates at the 16th World Congress on Tobacco OR Health. So recommendation for industry monitoring and tobacco protecting youth. So FCTC effective enforcement of WHO FCTC measures. Empower, Article 13. Enforcement of Article 5.3. Assess and accessibility in the restriction of availability of traditional tobacco product and new emerging tobacco and nicotine products. Meaningful engagement of youth to monitor industry tactics and protect themselves. So thank you, Dr. Monica. She couldn't join us.
I could finally join, but it's okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for making the presentation. Can you hear me?
Dr. Monica, you can conclude if you want. You can conclude.
Sure. I just want to conclude with saying that my essential message was that industry is targeting in 2 ways, which is new emerging tobacco products, but also through advertising through new media. India has been substantially able to curtail the advertising in films and various other medium. But what we have not been able to control is the streaming platforms, and some of our new research is actually showing how industry is misutilizing these streaming platforms and violating all Indian rules on smoke-free movies. And research earlier in India has very clearly shown that children who are more exposed to tobacco use in movies or through similar platforms of advertising do progress to become future users. And also the likelihood is more than 2 times more if they are more exposed versus those who are less exposed. So saying that we need to work towards ensuring our Section 5 is effectively implemented, and new guidelines are available to curtail advertising on social media, social networking sites, and streaming platforms. And we need to effectively enforce our Section 5 guidelines even on the streaming platforms. Thank you.
So thank you, Dr. Monica, for your presentation. And I think you had made a very nice summary of what the presentation. Okay. So I think due to heavy rain,
I'm really
over to Dr. Upendra Bhojani for his presentation, please.
Yeah, sorry, there was some disturbance. Dr. Upendra Bhojani, I think you are so well known, and I consider you as one of the most thoughtful leaders in tobacco control, who always gives a very, very considered opinion and with great deal of deep thought. So please go ahead. The qualification, etc., are all there, and they don't. I mean, they are there for everybody to see. Please go ahead. It's a pleasure to listen to you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gupta. It's an honor to have such words from you. And thank you, Cypher, PGI, and the union for giving me this opportunity. I promise that I'll make up for the time. I'll not take a long time. I sense that the audience is far more familiar with tobacco control work. So, and my co-panelists are going to do a wonderful job. I already heard Dr. Monica and her presentation, which is quite detailed. So what I'll try to do is I will have 6 slides, and I guess I will have at least 6 minutes to give 1 minute to each slide. And copying from what the Director General of WHO is doing these days, which is one word tweets. I try to do 6 slides, each having a single word or at most a single phrase. And so in case if connectivity is lost, I doubt my friends Garima or Kritika would be able to actually read through slides. But let's hope that it doesn't happen. So first 3 slides, or the first 3 words, I sort of try to characterize tobacco industry. And as we heard from Dr. Arora, that the industry uses a range of tactics. So what I'm trying to do in these 6-7 minutes is to rather highlight what in my own experience and my learning from many of you, what I gather as the top priorities going forward in terms of preventing tobacco industry interference, particularly as it impacts our youth. And the last 3 slides, I will keep it for tobacco control advocates, so people in our own community, and we'll try to raise or flag some of the issues in this regard. I also will try to be deliberately provocative, so don't treat these as very empirical slides, but these are my thoughts. So let me start off then. The first slide is, thanks for putting it up. The industry is invisible, often in its literal sense. So what I mean is that even for researchers like us, it's not very easy to see tobacco industry. And I think there are 2 important aspects in which it acquires invisibility. One is that the industry often works through various front groups. Right, and this is very common across globe, and particularly so in India too. We have already identified several front groups who speak voices of tobacco industry. They don't seem like tobacco industry themselves, and so it often appears like independent voices. And so these voices often get an audience in policy arena, and so I think that's one way in which industry remains invisible but exercises its influence. But beyond even use of front groups, what is more concerning in India is that the hardcore tobacco industry, let's say big time tobacco product manufacturers, often have varied identities. So they are often producing non-tobacco products, right? Let's take a case of the largest cigarette manufacturer in India, ITC. And we do know that they have a huge portfolio of non-tobacco items. Even though the revenues from these non-tobacco items are growing, we do know that the majority of profit still comes from the tobacco sector. And so in that sense, even though it is the largest cigarette manufacturer, it's not easy for common citizens and youth to easily pursue it as a tobacco company. And lately, what I also saw in practice is that this company is going to various government agencies and trying to convince, and often successfully, that it is not a tobacco company, that they have several other divisions. And so they often partner with government agencies in name of CSR. And this is the problem. So this is how I say that tobacco industry remains quite invisible. And so it also is invisible to youth. And I think this is something we must address. I really feel that we should think of regulatory ways in which we do not allow conglomeration of tobacco entities with non-tobacco entities. And then I come to the second slide, which is that the tobacco industry is omnipresent. It's everywhere. At least it is at all the places that really matter. So in some sort of a counterintuitive ways, while it is invisible, it is there where it matters. It is there in policy arenas in India. So for example, be it Niti Aayog, probably the topmost policy think tank of the government, the ITC has a partnership there. Several tobacco companies have partnerships or some sort of MOUs, right from local government to state governments agencies. And in that sense, it is also omnipresent in terms of its products available to youth. Can we go to the third slide, please? So it's and lastly, the last thing I would like to talk about this industry is that, and it's very concerning about the theme we are talking, because in marketing languages, there's a target market. So typically the companies define very specific audience to which they want to market their product. And there is no doubt that the tobacco companies have been with a great determination pursuing youth as their target market. I think Dr. Arora already highlighted various ways in which industry sort of reach out to youth. We recently in India had a kind of a civil society report called Tiny Targets, and again we were able to learn various ways in which tobacco industry reaches out to youth. So this is about some of the concerns that I had about tobacco industry in India, particularly as it interferes in public policies and as it relates to the youth. Now, let me come to some of the points I wanted to flag for discussion as it relates to tobacco control advocates and our own work in countering tobacco industry interference. The first one I would say is source versus symptoms. So if we look at tobacco sales going up, actually, tobacco use fortunately coming down, but marginally, and so many tobacco users in our country, I rather see them as a symptom of a source, which is actually tobacco industry, right? As they say in infectious disease paradigm, that if you want to control malaria, you have to control mosquitoes, which are the vectors. So many have described tobacco industry as a vector. And so if we don't really target our regulatory and other measures at tobacco industry itself, then we are rather doing more like, mopping the floor to make it dry while the tap is on. So we have to also worry and make the tap off. So that's what I mean by really focusing on source. The second thing I wanted to highlight about tobacco control movement, and sorry to be judgmental, this is, I'm trying to be rather provocative. I really feel that a lot has been achieved in last couple of decades in India. And many of you are indeed tobacco control warriors. And it is because of you all that this has been possible. But I generally feel that we have done much progress in terms of bringing in more and more regulatory measures. right? And then grappling with in improving its better implementation. And this is certainly useful. I think what has not been done enough by us is to bring a normative change in society, right? So the law cannot work on its own. I think we need to also invest more efforts in terms of how do we bring normative change in society where the tobacco industry is pursued very differently. And I think this is something that my co-panelist Vaishakhi and her efforts, but also many other organizations are sort of working on this aspect. The last slide I wanted to highlight is how do we see tobacco users in all this? And also, let's say, how do we see youth in all this? Do we see them as a problem? And unfortunately, I have seen many times the framing happening in a way that we often term tobacco users as if they are a problem. I do see photos, for example, in lockdown times of long queues of people wanting to buy BDs or wanting to buy pan masala in Gujarat, say, for example, and pity on them. But I think we have to keep in mind, like Honorable Health in today's inaugural session, that these are our allies. We have to understand that they are not the problem. We need to rather reach out to them. They need support. Tobacco is known as the very highly addictive drug. Then if we don't see them as a problem, do we see them as victims? In some sense, yes, they are victims of tobacco industry, because tobacco is often an engineered addiction, right? Tobacco industry is trying to reach out actively and marketing actively to young people. And in sort of a tobaccogenic environment, it is not often an active choice. It is often that by falling prey to such aggressive marketing, free samples, etc., that the people get into tobacco addiction. However, if we only term them as victims, then also we are doing something wrong, which is that we don't appreciate the agency of tobacco users or the agency of our youth. And I think that's something that we should not do, because if you see how the whole ENDS, electronic nicotine delivery system industry and advocates are doing, is really to capture and build on the agency of the users, right? They're trying to say, oh, you have right, and we are trying to help you with some other so-called less harmful products. So I think we really, while keeping these things in mind, we really need to see tobacco users and youth as our partners and indeed as change makers. And I think that's the way to go forward. And I really hope that in order to make this possible, instead of just reaching out to them with IEC and the knowledge, we really have to enable youth in a way that they become change makers and they become the voice against tobacco industry. With that, I sort of conclude my presentation. Thank you again.
So thank you, Upendra. As usual, you have been quite intriguing, and those 6 words were quite powerful. And really, those 6 words remind me of all these nefarious strategies which this tobacco industry is being using. And it's very difficult to define tobacco industry. Like it's a very varied topic, and that's why this topic is there. So we invite, I request Dr. P.C. Gupta to kindly introduce our next speaker, Mr. Ashish Pandey.
Thank you, Sono. It's a pleasure to introduce Mr. Ashish Pandey, who is Deputy Director of Tobacco Control Department in the International Union Against Tuberculosis and Lung Disease. And he has been now working in tobacco control for quite some time. And his introduction is, of course, there on the screen. I think, can everybody see this screen? Yeah, I think so. So I won't read everything in the interest of time, but look forward to hear Ashish, and over to you now.
Thank you, sir. Honestly speaking, sir, being introduced by you itself is a kind of one of the highest honor I have ever received. So thank you very much. And really congratulations to Dr. Sonu and Dr. Rakesh for organizing this. This is in the given scenario, I think this is the best thing that we could have achieved. Let me go without wasting time. Let me go through my presentation. Just wanted to confirm, is my presentation is visible now? Hello?
Ashish, you have access for the sharing screen. You can try.
Team can give.
I have started sharing my screen. So I just wanted to confirm if it is visible.
Garima, close your screen then. Garima? Yeah, now it's okay. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. It's wonderful to hear the presentation of Dr. Monica and then Dr. Upendra. Both have immense knowledge and understanding on tobacco control on a research perspective and a policy perspective. I would like here to take a kind of a step back again and just let everybody remind that why tobacco control first. That although the tobacco death rarely make headlines and tobacco kills one person almost every 6 seconds. In 2008, WHO estimated that unless urgent action taken, tobacco annual death toll would be roughly 8 million by 2030. But in a very recent report, it has said that it is already reached 8 million deaths per year. More than 7 million people are dying because of tobacco use, and 1.2 million additional because of the secondhand smoke exposure. So starting from that, so why youth? Why we need to protect youth? So there is a rationale behind it, and as very rightly Dr. Monica has also presented in her slides, that tobacco dependence is a pediatric disease. Most of the people begin tobacco consumption at adolescent, and if somebody is starting before age of 18 or age of 15, there is a high possibility that the person will continue as a tobacco user for a very long time. 39–40% of current tobacco user are smoker. And if I move forward, tobacco industry interference is still identifies the single greatest impediment to progress in reducing tobacco use, because they need to recover the gap because of the people which are dying. They need to maintain their consumer base. So they are reaching out to the new recruit. And when they are reaching out to the new recruits, then it's become more challenging for the country like India. Compared to many other developed and developing countries, India's epidemic is and will be driven by youth. As we can see that more than 70% of Indian population is under the age of 35 or 40. And so therefore, and there is also evidence which says that there is a very, very low quit rate among young users. Dr. Gupta's sir's one of the very notable research work long back. It says that 5,500 children start tobacco use in India on a daily basis. So what industry do to maintain this consumer base? Because it's a theme that how to protect youth. Let's first understand how industry reach out to this consumer base. The very first thing is industry ensure easy availability and accessibility. They keep the product cheap, they keep it available where the youth have quick access, and they glamorize it as like anything. The best of the best, the actors and actresses are there who have depicted smoking or tobacco consumption scenes in movies. And it's not just the most popular Bollywood movies. It's also in all the regional movies, all the vernacular languages. The WHO very recently it has also established that at least half of the in 2018, at least half of the tobacco contaminated movie were youth rated. And then Dr. Monica has emphasized a lot on this. I will not invest much time on this. Now the tobacco use is being glamorized through on-demand display. It's streaming left, right, and center without any control, without any restriction. And if you're really not intrigued yet, see this one. This is one Telugu web series where two actors are picturized as a student. They are in a student dress, school dress, and the title says why the series name is a must watch, and that is how they are progressing. And here I'm not covering the social media, which is even far more reach nowadays. They are also organizing promotional event, may not be directly with the name of in the name of tobacco brands, but maybe alternate brands. Like Dr. Upen says, that it's invisible. They will be organizing sponsored and sponsoring the event. We would not even know that it is being organized to promote or generate credibility for tobacco industry. The tobacco, the industry is still advertising tobacco in point of sale. And there are so much of surrogate advertisement. They have an old product in a new avatar, that's hookah. Hookah at 5 states has banned hookah, but many are yet to have a much needed action on this. Then comes the flavoring, keep the people hooked, attract and keeping the people hooked. And they are innovating with the flavored balls in the cigarette. And then the novel product. Again, Dr. Monica spoke a lot on this, so I'm not investing much of time. The union has a position paper, Dr. Rana said in his opinion, opening remarks. So what do we do, the union, on tobacco control? With our regional office and our country office and network of our partner, and of course support of our BI grants program, the union is supporting tobacco control in more than 45 countries at this point of time. And one of the key projects that we are doing in partnership with the University of Bath, GGTC, and Vital Strategy is Stopping Tobacco Organization and Product. The main purpose of this project is it's a kind of a global tobacco industry watchdog, and its mission is to expose and counter industry behavior. A large part of its work is to focus on how industry acting at global level and across country. But the key is, of course, is translating the global work and research to action on the ground to impact policy, which is where the local collaboration and utilizations comes in. There are many publications which are there. The Krug 9 is a publication which has outlined 9 ways of tobacco industry undermine the policy. Similarly, the Tobacco Industry Index, Dr. Monica has already shared on this. It has been developed by Southeast Asia Tobacco Control Alliance, SIETCA, in a collaboration with StopPro. Yeah, I'm just about to finish. So COVID-19 monitoring, so we have also come up with a lot of brief. So, but what we are doing in India, with our grant program, we are working in more than 20 plus states, and we have already completed 40 grants, and there are 15 ongoing grants. And with those grants, what we do, we liaison, partner, and assist the government and NGO, and there are many policy gain that has been achieved. These are the policy gain that Dr. Monica is asking, that where we need to work. We are working at the grassroots level so that it can be adopted at the highest level. And we are also supporting the institutionalization and implementation of national program. Unless until we have a strong national program, the tobacco control work sustainability is always be questioned. And of course, we need to implement the law. The union has worked to make 160 plus smoke-free jurisdictions and many other high compliance jurisdictions for taps and protection of minors. With that, possibly I'll rest my presentation here. Thank you for your contribution to a tobacco-free generation. Over to you, Garima, I guess.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Ashishji, for your insightful presentation and giving insights about how the tobacco industry plays a role in preventing the tobacco control enthusiast for doing its work. So now I'd like to invite again Dr. P.C. Gupta to kindly introduce Vaishakhi Malik, who is an Associate Director of Vital Strategies, New Delhi. So Dr. Gupta, please.
Thank you, Sonam. Again, a pleasure to introduce Vaishakhi Malik, who is basically a communication specialist with a focus on public health. She is with the Vital Strategy for quite some time, earlier with in its earlier avatar of World Lung Foundation. And I would specifically say one thing about her, that she is one person instrumental for giving us all those tobacco control spots which get exhibited before the films, during the interval of films, in most of the times in theaters. So welcome, Vaishakhi, and look forward to hearing you.
Thank you, Dr. Gupta. It's a pleasure to be introduced by you, and good morning to everybody in the audience and at the YouTube live streaming also. So I think I'm just going to go straight to the point, because all of my co-panelists have really very well set the context and given the background, etc. And I'm just going to focus on the piece of harnessing strategic social media campaigns for protecting youth from industry manipulation. And before I start my presentation, I think at the outset, I would just like to establish that strategic communication is an important and one of the key strategies which is laid down in Empower, FCTC, NTCP, etc., to reverse the tobacco epidemic. And before I go into the specifics of social media, I just wanted to put across that mass media, traditional mass media campaigns have the highest impact and reach, and they will continue to do that for quite some time. And we continue doing that and warning people against the health harms of tobacco through hard-hitting national level mass media campaigns, which is usually implemented by Ministry of Health. But social media is one platform which is new and coming up, which is of course being used extensively and intensively now by the tobacco industry to market products to youth. And that's the same platform that we are now using to counter those tactics and spread the information around it. So the content of my presentation would be, and I think I'm going to skip tobacco industry interference and tactics, and because that has been all detailed out by my co-panelists. And I'll talk about the social media and online tactics first to lay the ground, and then what are the steps to counter the industry through social media campaigns, and then monitoring and exposing TI through online campaigns. How are we doing that, and what is our vision around it? Next slide, please. So, so this is the, and I'm going to skip this, but these are the essential blockages. These are the essential, progress which any, public health program makes through research, policy, implementation, and adoption of policies. And each of these progresses are blocked by tobacco industry in various ways by, producing junk science and interfering in the policies and delaying implementation and using all those tactics for adoption, for delaying the adoption of proposed policies. And we design campaigns to counter all of these blockages that they produce. Next slide. And this is also in short, because this has been covered through, these are all the tactics and interferences that they do through pricing policies, market restrictions, and access. So I'll just skip this slide because this has been covered. Next slide, please. And of course, these are all the ways through which, tobacco industry interferes. And these are all the tactics, and these are especially designed to promote the products to youth and make everything very aspirational for us. For the youth, and also using tactics like front groups, and they have been promoting events, and we see all these literature fests which are being all the ads are promoted, and surrogate advertising which has been blatantly being done in the past recent times very much. Next slide, please. So this is something which is really concerning, because sale of tobacco products in retail websites are being done to target the youth. And these are all the examples. Next slide. And then these are some of the promotional events. Some of them are also global examples, but these are some of the, Indian examples where, promotional offers and discounts are provided to people for the uptake. Next slide. And I think my co-panelists have spoken, so much about this. This is a threat, and this is really rampant and very blatant now on all the online streaming platforms, promotion of tobacco products. Next slide. So, from this basis now, when we talk about the communication strategy, as I said, the communication strategy is always integrated, because we try to harness the the impact and reach of various communication platforms. Like there are traditional mass media channels, TV and radio. They have an important high reach. And then what we do is we strategize short but intense social media campaigns to counter some of these. So one thing which is our goal in promoting and designing all of these campaigns on social media is basically to denormalize tobacco industry interference. That's the goal. So everything which is normal, which the youth sees on as surrogate ad, or the sale of tobacco products, online streaming of sale of products on online platforms, and so this is all very becoming normal, and the goal of these campaigns is to denormalize it. And how do we do that? And this is all based on evidence of all the previous campaigns that we've done, is that when we use and highlight important data which is related to health harms, so that helps in providing information. And as Upender said, that the goal is not just to provide information and knowledge, that's the first step, but ultimately what we want to do is that we want our target audience to take some action. And that's why call to action for any social media campaigns become very important. Putting real life stories and faces to the tobacco epidemic is really impactful, and we have done campaigns like Sunita, Mukesh, etc., and we've been using these stories on platforms, and then we've been also designing some campaigns which are about winners quitting, and those are real stories which impact people a lot. And then finally showing evidence of tobacco industry manipulation to general population. So we as tobacco control advocates, we know the manipulation, but there is that general population doesn't even have an idea how they are manipulated. So on these social media campaigns, we basically use very layman language, but based on all the evidence which Monica talked about and all the COTPA laws, etc. But we use very common layman language to tell them how industry manipulates general population and therefore the youth. Next slide. So I'm going to just briefly talk about, we have been doing a lot of campaigns, but I'm going to talk about two campaigns, which is the first one, which is called TERM, which is the expanded version is Tobacco Enforcement and Reporting Movement. We started this on Facebook in June 2019. And really the vision of this page is basically, as I said, that, just, awareness and knowledge is the first step, but we want people to take action, and we want the general population to take action. So the vision of this page is basically for people to take action. It is just like, to put it very, to simplify it, you may have seen some traffic police, Delhi traffic police platforms where, they encourage the general population to paste or post pictures of violations done on traffic and complain. So this is very similar to that, where we want the people to actually report the violation, see surrogate ads, click pictures and report them on this page. So, right now we are focusing our messages on surrogate advertising and preventing youth initiation of tobacco products and etc. and sale, etc. So very specific, as you can see at the bottom, we are talking about how, to stopping sale of products near school. These are certain things which the general population is not aware of. So we are trying to denormalize it. So right now we are at the stage on this page where we are trying to create knowledge on these laws for denormalizing these manipulations, so that, we come to our vision that, people actually take action and report this violation. So as you can see the matrix, we have reached around, can I go back to the slide, please? Yeah, we've reached around 68,000 followers here, and you can see the matrix here, because the matrix would be important to evaluate these things. Next slide. And I'm going to very briefly talk about this. This was a campaign on ENDS, which was, and this was, based on, this was to set public agenda to support the ban on ENDS. And we basically used the hashtag ban on e-cigarettes. And there were 3 themes that were highlighted: marketing tactics by the industry. And these were basically talking about how youth is, these, products are being promoted to the youth. Evidence-based health harms and global examples why bans are important or regulations are important. And then there was a microsite also, which gave more information about the e-cigarettes. Next slide. So we reached a population of 3.29 million on this short-lived campaign, which was to support this thing. And we also were doing a real-time message testing of the products. And what we got to know from the real-time message testing was that the initial phase of the campaign, people were engaging a lot on the health harm messages of the campaigns. They were being impacted by, the signs that we were producing, telling them about the harms, health harms. And gradually over the campaign, youth tactics and marketing tactics to youth, that took up. People really engaged with those kind of messages. And that's the learning that we got from this campaign. Next slide. And as I said, that these campaigns are also, because we used integrated approach. So it's not just the social media campaigns that we're doing online, but we are trying to also amplify these campaigns to a lot of offline activities, and a lot of grantees from union, have been helping us with, amplifying these campaigns offline. And there have been, social media influencers, journalists, and, civil society organizations that have retweeted and amplified these campaigns. Next slide. And these are certain examples of offline events that have been done in conjunction with these campaigns, where children have amplified these campaigns through school activities on important events. Next slide. Yeah. So just in conclusion, I just wanted to say that, social media is one platform which is really coming up. And in the COVID times also, when we study all the media consumption data, we have seen that the social media uptake has increased by 85% in the recent times, and it is going to be the same in future. So not only the tobacco industry is going to harness on this media, but we as tobacco control advocates have to also utilize it very efficiently to reach the youth and protect them. Thank you.
So thank you, Vaishakhi, for very insightful thoughts about the various media strategies used by CTFK to undercover tobacco industry, vital strategy, sorry. So I think we are towards the end of this plenary session. Before I invite our chairs to conclude the session, just two things. One is because there are many questions which are there on the screen. However, due to paucity of time for this session, and the next session is on, and the chairs are waiting, so we are unable to take the questions for this session. But definitely, we'll pass those questions to the speakers, and they will revert back, and we will try to find a forum in which your questions will be addressed. Second is we have sent a feedback form. Please fill the feedback form, because that is the only indicator with us that those who have registered are actually in the session, so that we'll give the certificates to the participants. So, so now I hand over, I think Dr. Rana is here. He has joined. He missed some of the talks. So if he has joined, Dr. Rana, are you here?
Yes, Dr. Sonu.
Okay.
Yes. So
again,
thank you. Yes, we will do it very quickly. So thank you. Before I request Dr. P.C. Gupta ji to finally sum up, so I would like to say that keeping in view the current theme of this World No Tobacco Day, how to do that? How to do that? So still, if I look at the identification and monitoring of tobacco industry interference and to protect our youth, it is still an area where we have very limited capacity in our country. I can number few people who have expertise in that area. Mr. Opindra is doing, Pranay is doing, Dr. Monica Arora, now Dr. Goel and Opinder Kaur, they are a little bit working on this front. But still, I think there is huge capacity building gap as far as tobacco industry interference monitoring is concerned. So this is one area I think all the people should think how we can do that. Secondly, just to strengthen that part, it is very important that country has now a national policy on FCTC Article 5.3, which is still pending. So these are some remarks. Thank you all the speakers, and I would request now chair of this session, Dr. P.C. Gupta ji, to sum up this session. Dr. P.C. Gupta ji.
Thank you, Dr. Rana. This session, as we all heard, was an excellent session, and the speakers very comprehensively and in a well-organized way pointed out the interference from the tobacco industry, as well as how they are still targeting, especially targeting youth for promoting and marketing their products. Just want to make a couple of comments that when we talk about the interference from tobacco industry, we have to be very aware, and we all have experience on that the interference starts right from the initial stage up to and even beyond the implementation stage. We have the examples, for example, research evidence. When we have good research evidence, they come up with confusing and their own sponsored research evidence. Every stage of policy making, they interfere, and every other step until we get to the point of benefiting public health, they keep on interfering. So interference happen at all levels. Some of the levels we may not even guess in the beginning. The second point, absolutely right, that the industry is targeting adolescents and youth all the time. But we have to also see that their tactics, that they target very specific subsections also of these youth, like gender. You see in many advertisements, they specifically target gender, specific age group and specific socioeconomic groups. So I think we have to take care, we have to understand all that. And thank you all speakers once again for this very excellent session. And over to you, Sonu and the organizers.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your concluding remarks. I also thank our speakers for the session and also our chairs and moderator, Dr. Goel.